Hey guys, today is Wednesday, February 18th, comic book day, of course, and this was a particularly big comic book day, so as you can probably tell from the title of this video, I decided to split it into two parts. The first part will be all of the books I picked up that aren't published by DC or an imprint of DC, and then the next book will be the DC comic reviews for this week. Um, so, jumping in, wait, gotta get back to my place in the notes, and also, if I sound weird, it's because I'm getting over a cold. Um, and I'm still doing this video for you guys. You guys, I am too good to you guys. Anyway, starting off, a new book for me. Well, not entirely new, but Miss Marvel issue 12. Started reading the first trade, waiting on the second one. Really liked the first trade enough, and decided to pick up this book now, Miss Marvel issue 12, and I do not regret it at all. We begin this story with just a great panel of Loki covered in horse manure, looking really sad. Just, I think, a great way to open the book. And then we have a dig against Jersey, which, you know, as a New Yorker, I could always appreciate. A corner of Midgard that has too long been neglected by the gods. Sounds a lot like Jersey. And of course, as soon as he lands in Jersey, Loki is accused of being a hipster from Brooklyn, which, as a Queens boy, I like even more, you know? Just everything about this book appeals to my inner New Yorker, which is fun. This book also has, aside from Loki, just some really great characters. And by great, I mean like really nice, likable fellows. We have uh, Camilla Khan's kind of admirer, one of her best friends, who has a crush on her, Bruno, who is accused of being in the friend zone, and of course, like a good guy and not a nice guy, not a nice guy, but an actual good person, he denounces the friend zone as something that does not, in fact, exist, which, of course, it doesn't. So, good guy Bruno over there. Then we just have a series of great panels. We have Loki prancing around with a love letter that he wrote for Camilla for Bruno, or Kamala, and just a great little story. It's a one-shot. It takes place, as you can probably tell, on Valentine's Day. Her school is having a prom. Bruno wants to ask her out, Kamala out, but he's too shy. So Loki decides to intervene. He's also in his own mission, which involves using a truth serum in order to find if there are spies at the high school, and of course, putting a truth serum in a bunch of high schoolers' mouths results in a fight, because teenagers are full of secrets. So, really entertaining book. Glad I picked it up. Glad I'm finally going to be reading this as an ongoing instead of just in trades now. Because it's just an overall really fun book. And if you're a New Yorker or live in New Jersey, live in the area, it seems to really appeal to people of that geography. So really enjoying it, really liking it. And it's like Squirrel Girl, it's a book that just seems to be very happy and upbeat, instead of kind of dour like a lot of other books I read. So, yes, moving on to Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man, issue 7? Issue 10. Don't know where I got the 7 from. Issue 10. So right now we're back to the main plot of the Mystery Twin Spiders, or at least that's where we enter on, and then that gets kind of dropped 2 pages in to Miles kind of readjusting to his life, knowing that his father used to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Now that he knows that Peter's still alive. Peter ran off to be somewhere else. So he's just kind of adjusting to all these new things that happened to him in the past 10 issues. We get a bit of a fight scene here between Miles and two of his villains, Electro and Sabretooth. And it's a great little fight, because at first he's just wondering why doesn't he just wait and let the two beat each other up. And of course that doesn't work because they end up endangering other people, so he has to jump in. The fight's then interrupted by Cloak and Dagger. Honestly, I don't know who these people are, but they look really cool. I mean, the way that Cloak moves around here, just really cool looking character. Seems to be totally badass. Then they have a great just bit of dialogue here. Miles is asking Dagger, who's the girl of the team, about talking to Kate, his ex-girlfriend. It's kind of weird. Previously he told her that he was Spider-Man. She freaked out because her family's part of Hydra, and so now he doesn't know that her family's part of Hydra, so he's talking about why she freaked out, thinking what he should do. And it's a really just good dialogue, and that's something that this book has. Good inner monologues, good dialogue between the characters, feels really realistic for the ages that these characters are. But not like they're talking down. It's not like a baby talk sort of thing. It just feels really realistic and really mature, I guess, for their ages. It's just, I really enjoyed reading this book for the dialogue. You have a short friend scene here. I just love the way that they end this scene with Miles climbing out the window, and the friend trying to say it's not going to work, and he just ignores him. Anyway. And then we end on a very uh-oh moment that I'm not going to spoil because it's an uh-oh moment, and if you're wondering what's going to happen, you should probably pick up and read the book for yourself. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Like I said, really great dialogue, really kind of, you have your levity scenes of Miles waiting by the curb, wondering, I'm just going to let this fight play out, and then of course it doesn't work, and kind of dialogue between Cloak, Dagger, and Miles here, where he's getting girl advice, and it's just really funny stuff, but also like seriously, it's good. That's what I want to say. Just really great dialogue that really develops these characters and makes them feel real, which is important in a book, I think. So, moving on to Silver Surfer, issue number 9. As you can tell, Galactus is in this book. So we start off on New Haven, where we left off in the last issue. Dawn has just learned that the Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd, was a herald of Galactus and is responsible for the destruction of millions of planets. She's understandably a little pissed off at Norrin for not telling her this in the first place. And so we open this book with a very brief, very tight backstory of the Silver Surfer, him on his planet attacked by Galactus. He trades his planet to say, spare my planet, I'll be your herald and find other planets. Fight with this Fantastic Four. He decides to not be the herald anymore, and we're all caught up, pretty much. The story is then, as hinted by the cover, interrupted by Galactus, who has followed the Silver Surfer's trail, unbeknownst to everyone involved, to this planet, where everybody is a survivor of another planet that Galactus has previously eaten. So they're understandably pissed at the Surfer for leading Galactus here, albeit unknowingly. And then basically the rest of the book is the Surfer trying to stop Galactus, which involves a really cool moment where I just love this panel. It tells you everything it has to do. He's surfing the moon, and Norrin Radd does surf the moon into Galactus. Pretty great stuff. He's like just fling off over there. Just boom, slams the moon right into Galactus. And I'm going to stop here because, well, spoiler territory past this point. Sorry, as I said, getting over a cold. But yeah, really great moment you have with the Surfer surfing a moon into Galactus. But then we probably end with the bleakest sort of bit of story that the Silver Surfer comic has introduced so far. Um, yeah, definitely the bleakest ending so far. But still, like, it's not like a big shift in mood. It's not like, suddenly sad. It's bleak, but it still feels part of the book. It's not alien, I guess, to the book. But yeah, very much enjoying Silver Surfer as I have been the past 9 issues. If you like kind of space travel stories, if you like Doctor Who, but still a little superhero-y, pick it up. Again, speaking of Doctor Who, they actually have in the letters section a letter from Russell T Davies, who of course is responsible for rebooting Doctor Who in 2005. So direct link there between the two things. It's not just me. Moving on now to Moon Knight, issue 12, last story of this arc. Pretty sure it's actually the last story that Brian Wood is going to be working on. If I remember correctly from the solicits, the creative team switches next issue, which is a little disappointing because I really enjoyed this run. And I know I said the same thing when Warren Ellis left, but, and I'm sure they'll find another great writer to replace Brian Wood, but it's always a shame when someone you like leaves a book. But they are leaving in style. So we catch up with Mark Spector as he's falling out of a prison plane. He's begging Khonshu to give him one more chance as his avatar. Right now, Khonshu is instead helping out Dr. Warsame, who is plotting revenge against General Lore. Is it General Lore? Pretty sure it's plotting revenge against this guy who killed her family. And so Mark Spector's like, wait, there's more to this. Khonshu, you're not seeing the whole story. Give me a day or whatever, and I will prove to you that I am the worthy avatar, and this other person is just using you for bad things. And we get this beautiful kind of opening panel of Khonshu saving Mark from just, falling splat into the ocean. I just think it's a really nice setup, how he's slowly enveloped by the light. Really pretty looking, in my opinion. Just wanted to point that out. And then, of course, Spector wakes up in water and calls a journalist who he is using as basically, I know the story, you're a journalist, you find the sources, you tell this story, so we can ruin the Doctor. The Doctor's name, really expose who she is. Meanwhile, we also have Mark actually trying physically to get between the Doctor and the General before she kills him, trying to save the day. And we find out, of course, that we really find out what the Doctor's secret history is. We find out what her real motivations are, and it turns out to not be what it first appears, because it's a story, and we kind of need a little twist in order to keep us intrigued. And it's a very good twist, actually. The way it all plays out, what it kind of says about, I don't want to say what it says about politics in the Horn of Africa, but that sort of thing, where things are a lot more gray and complicated than they first appear. Very, very good stuff. Really enjoyed how it all plays out and who all these characters turn out to be in relation to each other and in relation to kind of, the plot of the Horn of Africa and how they're playing that out. I think it's done very well. I think it's done, I don't want to say respectfully, but it's done with the kind of appropriate weight that, that sort of tragedy does deserve, but without losing that this is a comic book about a guy who was returned from the dead in order to fight crime. So, and of course, this book keeps the brilliant pacing and the brilliant feeling of tenseness that it's had all throughout Brian Wood's run, and even Warren Ellis's run. So, very good stuff there. Really enjoyed it. And pick up the first Moon Knight trade if you haven't already by Warren Ellis. I recommend picking this up as soon as it gets in trade. Just very good, tight storytelling all around. Can't recommend Moon Knight enough. Moving on now to completely different direction, we have Silk #1. First story of, or rather the first issue of the spin-off of Spider-Verse of Amazing Spider-Man with Silk, Sydney Moon, who is the second person bitten by the same spider who bit Peter Parker, and now she's making her own way as a superhero. Was very excited for this one, and it did not let me down. You have a great opening that opens with action, opens in a fight scene that has Sydney Moon's kind of, we have her inner monologue mixed with the dialogue in a very good way that shows basically how the thoughts in her head escape her mouth. Just giving her some really good characterization that she is new to this. She's trying to do the witty banter thing that Peter does, but isn't quite experienced with it yet. Not as experienced a fighter, of course, still getting used to using her powers to fight crime instead of just, having powers to use at her whim. Has to be saved by Peter early on after her spider sense, or her silk sense, as she calls it, goes a little fuzzy, still getting used to it. Then we get some backstory on Sydney Moon, who has been a mystery since her introduction, pretty much. We just know that she was kidnapped from her family and put into a bunker for 10 years before being released, and then Spider-Verse happened. So she was raised in a very strict, kind of stereotypical Asian household with the tiger mom. Everything's all about the grades, everything's about being a success. Kind of no time for fun. It's a little stereotypical, but it works. I mean, they play it out not like a stereotype, but as Sydney actually reacting to this pressure from her parents. So, not as bad as it could be, which, sometimes is good. Not as bad as it could be can equal good sometimes, and in this case it does. And then we get what reminds me a lot of the Batgirl soft reboot, just in terms of art style too. Very Batgirl Burnside-y. But we have what seems to be, what is Sydney Moon working for the Daily Bugle, and what seems to be kind of a gender-flipped repeat of those kind of classic Spider-Man stories with Peter working for JJ. You have J. Jonah Jameson again trying to play Spider-Man off as this menace, and now using Silk as saying Silk is the good one, Spider-Man's the bad one. And just dealing with Jameson, dealing with her job at the Bugle, trying to make friends after being, in seclusion for so long, so readjusting to how to act in society. Yeah, really cool things. We jump between flashback, her work at the Bugle, and her being Silk. So after a brief time at the Bugle, she goes back to fighting the person she was fighting earlier on in the story. Still not used to her powers. Punches this guy all the way to the dumpster. Really bad at quips still. And then it's really just a lot of Sydney getting used to her new life as a superhero. Again, very reminiscent of kind of the typical Peter Parker Spider-Man story of balancing a job, being a superhero, and her personal life or her personal goals. Except this time we have Peter mentoring her, which again is a kind of new role for Peter Parker. Instead of being someone who's learning from all these other superheroes, someone who's in a mentoring position, trying to really help someone through a lot of the same things that he went through, from developing his powers and all that. So, really cool stuff. And of course, carried over from the Spider-Verse stuff, they have a very awkward kind of lust for each other for some mysterious reason connected to their spider bite. Anyway, shaping up really well. Really liked how they're introducing this character. Really like all the facets they're playing around with, even if they are kind of derivative of Peter Parker's story. I think just even switching the gender roles makes it very interesting and opens a lot of new places the story can go. And of course, Sydney isn't just female Peter Parker. She is her own character, with her own quirks, learning her own things and who she wants to be as a superhero, and balancing living with Peter in a way, which is, I think, very interesting. Could go in a lot of places. And yeah, very good book, very good first issue. If you're looking for more spider stuff, why not start here? Yes. Moving on to Red Sonja issue 100. I don't know why I had to say that twice. It didn't sound right the first time. Anywho, issue 100, very big issue, $7.99. That's not a sticker. That's actually part of the cover. Freaked me out too. I was rubbing this like, why can't I remove this? But yes, Red Sonja issue 100. It's a big issue, celebratory issue. Instead of following the main Sonja story, we have 5 short Sonja stories. One of them written by Gail Simone, all of them good. We have the first story is just a little preview of each story. We have Sonja versus a spider made out of other spiders. Pretty great. We then have I'm trying to find a good page. I'll just do the first one. Then we have Sonja versus Evil Rapunzel. We have a sudden art shift in the third story. That's kind of jarring. Kind of looks like a webcomic in my opinion. But we have Sonja and a little boy versus the Minotaur, in terms of kind of a David and Goliath sort of dealio. We then get the Gail Simone story, which is Sonja meeting her hero. I got kind of a Batman and the Grey Ghost vibe, if you remember that episode of Batman, the animated series. But it's Sonja meeting a very Sonja-esque older character who inspired Red Sonja to be Red Sonja, or to be like Red Sonja, and they have a heart-to-heart. And then the last story is Sonja meets a genie and gets 3 wishes. And yeah, all these stories, again, none of them are exceptional. I would not say pick this book up for this one story or for these 2 stories, but altogether, each of them very good, each of them complement each other very well, and it makes a very good package if you like Red Sonja. We have really good characterization in each one. In particular, I like the characterization they give her in the last one. It's Sonja gets 3 wishes, and you'd expect kind of she, as a hero character, or as a heroic character, she'll use them in a certain way, but she uses them in a very Sonja way, in a very unique kind of, this is something that this character, knowing that this character is, would use these wishes to do. And it's just, I really liked how that story in particular turned out. But again, all of them are good, none of them particularly great, but if you want to read Red Sonja, if you want 5 Red Sonja stories in one collection, you could probably do a lot worse than this. And moving on to the last comic of this video, but not the last comic this week, because again, 2-parter. We have Bitch Planet number 3. Every 3rd issue of Bitch Planet is a backstory on one of the characters, and as you can tell from the cover, this one is the backstory of Penny Rollo. We have her, and what looks to be she's being arrested and taken to prison, to the Bitch Planet prison, and they're giving kind of a dossier of how she arrived there. We start off with this great kind of wall of men all judging her and telling her, well, you could have avoided this if you were more like this, and we just want the best for you, and they're being very paternalistic, which seems to be par for the course in this universe that Bitch Planet sets up. And I love this little bit of dialogue here where he's reading off her crimes, and you have assault, 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 and then wanton obesity is a crime. So you can really you really quickly get this sort of world that Bitch Planet takes place in, and it's not a fun one. It's interesting. I really enjoy this world as a story device, but it scares the fuck out of me that, it's foreign, this is something that doesn't happen, but does have its parallels in the real world, that feels very realistic, feels like it has a truth to it, and it's really scary as a reader to think, oh my god, this is terrible, but also I've seen this in the real world. Um, it's so, if you're looking for like that really good sci-fi dystopia thing, this book has it in spades with its world building. Um, we then get like just a really jarring scene of Penny's past, Penny's childhood. She's cooking with her mom, and they seem to be really happy. And then the cops show up. And it's like just this really jarring, you have this really happy family scene, and then suddenly the cops are here to take her away. And again, it just, for my opinion, this issue has the best world building, has the best kind of setup of, okay, this is the world that this comic takes place in. And it is such an interesting, very good, very scary world. Like even as someone who would be in a powerful position in this world, and this is a world that kind of revolves around masculinity first. If you're a man, you have power, and then it's based on how desirable you are as a woman to a man. So it's based on pretty much if you have a penis, you're in charge, and then if you're physically attractive, you get second in command. Um, and it's just like a very, very good universe, like a very good dystopia that feels incredibly relevant, um, like in this day and age, in this very media populated world that we live in right now, and one that is very much ruled still by a patriarchy and that decides this is what a woman should be, and then we have these ideas that if a woman isn't this, then she is worth less. And so very, very good stuff in this book, just in terms of, sci-fi relating to the real world and giving us parallels. And then we get, so the story is basically this council of men judging her and going through her past and trying to like convince her, okay, see, this is where you messed up and this is where you could have done better. And it ends with basically them hooking her up to this machine that would show her ideal self. Of course, like this is a way, kind of like a mental trick. Is like, well, if you envision your ideal self, the person you want to be, then that's the step to becoming that person. And I really love how they turn that plot point on its head. It's just, we get this great insight into Penny's character, of course, but also like I mean, a big part of this book is non-compliance, is that you're not compliant to what other people want, and that's why you're a troublemaker. And of course, Penny is very non-compliant, if only because she is comfortable in her body, that isn't, pretty, stereotypically. And by the end of this book, we just have this great character moment of her facing her ideal self, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but it brought a big smile to my face. Needless to say, I was like, that's like the perfect ending to this book. Like just to this character and everything we've seen from her, it just feels right that should happen. And then of course, like the previous two issues, we get a feminist essay in the back. I really enjoyed this one. It's about kind of like the rest of the book, it's about body image, it's about being a person that another person might want you to be instead of being the person you want to be for yourself. And yeah, I mean, this book is aimed towards women who feel oppressed and the patriarchy and all that, and I totally relate. I mean, not relate, but like, yes, relate. Ah. This isn't a book meant, I don't want to say it's not meant for men, but it's clearly meant for an audience that is a woman that is dealing with living in what is still very much a world where a man's opinion is more highly regarded than a woman's. That is the ideal audience for this book. But I enjoy it so much. It's just really good. I mean, just because you have an ideal audience doesn't mean that other people can't gain something from this book. And I think if you're the opposite, if you are a dude who's so, like, not even secure in his manliness, like, but if you're the other end of the spectrum of insecure or wanting to be more secure woman, and I'm sounding so fucking, yeah. I don't like how these words are coming out of my mouth right now. Just yeah, okay, okay. Anybody who is anybody should read this book. That's what I'm gonna say. This is just a really good book, really pertinent to the media landscape we live in right now. There's really great, powerful stuff, very self-affirming, very good for the self-esteem. Teaches you how to be more comfortable in your own body, whether you are a traditionally, or what society says is an unattractive person, or whether you are comfortable already in your own body, and this is another story of someone being that person who is the best person. Of course, it is someone who is comfortable with themselves. So yeah, just great book. Everybody should be reading Bitch Planet, I guess, is what I'm gonna end this part of the video on. Yeah, I did not like how I sounded in most of that video, but I'm keep it because I'm honest and gotta gotta share your mistakes in order to learn from them or something. I don't know. Mostly it's just I'm too lazy to reshoot. Um, but I'm admitting that. Anywho, yes, part two is the DC part. It's probably gonna be longer because it's more books, but also might be shorter because I might have less to say. Had a lot to say about things. Anywho, yes. Before I go and you watch the next part, if you decide to watch the next part, read Bitch Planet. Basically, what I want to say. Okay, thank you. Yes, thanks for watching. I guess I should go through all the back matter stuff in case you don't watch the second part. So yes, if you have any opinions, ideas, suggestions, whatever, feel free to leave a comment or message me privately. If you like this video, please rate it with a thumbs up. Helps me out somehow. I'm not exactly sure. Just YouTube tells me that helps me out somehow. If you want to, oh god, burp. If you want to hear more of me talking about comic books for whatever reason, I didn't do the best job in this video. But anyway, if you want more of that, anyway, please subscribe. I like watching that number steadily go up. And yeah, that's it for this part. Next part, DC. If you want Batman, watch that part. Thanks for watching this one, though, and see you whenever the next time is, either next week or the other video. But yeah, I'm just gonna end this one.